Hey everybody, welcome back to Brainiac Baseball's 1983 Detroit Tigers season replay. Today we're going to take a look here at the end of the month of August, standings and league leaders. Plus we'll take a quick look at the September call-ups that were just made today. If you take a look here at the schedule, you'll see what we have to look forward to in the final month of the season. It looks like we have just as many home games as we have away games. We have one more game against the White Sox here. Taking a step back to August, you'll see we went 17 and 13 in the month of August. And if you've been watching all season, you know that we started off with this 16-game advantage here, 16 games above 500, and since then we've basically gone 500. 16 and 11 in May, and then 11 and 16, 13 and 12 in July, and then this 4-game difference here. So I'm guessing that we're going to finish the season probably with a 3 games under 500. That's for the month of September, if everything were to kind of continue on this path. So I'm curious to see if that holds true. Let's go ahead and get started by taking a look at the September call-ups. We suffered one injury yesterday to Doug Baker, who will not be available for the rest of the regular season. He tore his knee ligament. He's going to be out 33 days. So he could be back in time for the playoffs if we were to make that run against the Yankees here. It's not likely. We're still 5 games back. We'll look at the standings momentarily, but let's take a look at the September call-ups here. Here is our roster. You see that Whitaker and Brock are tired. And now that Baker is unavailable, what I like to do for the September call-ups is I don't really like to call anybody up unless they're in AAA, okay? And so our September call-ups are going to be Jody Reed, who's going to fit in nicely now. He'll take over for Doug Baker and become our utility guy. As you can see, he can play just about anywhere but center field and catcher. He did get a cup of coffee last year. But despite that offer, he's hit at every level of the minor leagues. And so we gave him a promotion to AAA, where he batted .304, not a home run hitter. He's only got a 56 power, so he's terrible at that. But Jody Reed, definitely a great utility guy and possibly our second baseman of the future if we can't afford to re-sign Sweet Lou. Bobby Ramos is back. He started the season as our backup, but he couldn't get the job done. We traded for Terry Kennedy, who's all but taken over the catcher's job. Barbaro Garbe, we just saw him briefly when we decided to trade Eddie Murray and make Brock our everyday first baseman. There was really not a need for us to keep Garbe in the majors. He's had a September call-up just about every year. And, he's not rated highly. He's already 26 years old. In real life, he was a big part of the 1984 Tigers World Series team. And so we'll keep him around for that. Marty Party, another catcher. He has not played this year in the majors, but we'll make sure he gets some time behind the plate and maybe at third base to give George Brett a break. But he's not part of our future. Similarly rated to Lance Parrish, 78, 79, 78, 79. This is a really interesting player here. It's Scottie Madison. He was a Kansas City Royal in real life. He did play for Detroit briefly. You'll see here that he put up some pretty decent numbers at AAA, and, give or take an injury or two, could be somebody who could be valuable at the corner position. We also may not have a DH for next year because I don't project us keeping Mickey Hatcher, who goes to arbitration. And Mickey Hatcher, despite being really valuable to us, does not have a very high rating. And so maybe Scottie Madison, with his power, could be our DH option for next year. I decided to give Jeff Stone a call-up. He is in Double-A. We traded for him. He came over in a deal earlier this season for Ricky Henderson from Houston. We don't really expect much from him, but he could be a fourth outfield option for us in the future. He really can only play left field, but he does bat left-handed, so there's some value there. So we'll see a little bit from him. And Rich Gedman is the final call-up on offense. He's already played for Houston a couple of starts. I mean, maybe we'll throw him in there. He's already, what does he have? Major League service time is none. So those 2 games didn't even count. Well, I guess because of his age, we'll give him an opportunity to maybe start or pinch hit down the stretch. And then I filled out the last 2 spots on our offense with our injured players. And I do that because these guys are already getting paid. So role when we're already projected to lose so much money here. If we made the playoffs, we could make up some of that, but I don't think that's going to happen. So everybody else remains in the minor leagues. I did think about throwing Roberto Kelly into the majors, but he's only years old in his second year at Single-A, and he's our number 1 rated prospect. And we could really use a center fielder with Kevin Bass being our go-to guy right now, but let's not start his clock. Let's take a look at the pitchers. Nothing has changed with our starters and our main relieving core, other than I brought Keith Comstock back. We had Comstock in AAA while we gave the Creeper a little bit longer of a run. Carl Willis. So, okay, keep in mind, let's go here first. Weaver, Smith, and Capizzello all go to arbitration at the end of the year. I project that we will not be keeping Capizzello and Weaver. We'll sign them. We'll extend them on their from their arbitration awards, whether we win them or lose them. But then we'll have to turn around and trade them because we cannot afford to give raises to middle relievers. So Dave Smith will probably keep, and he'll become our closer next year. So we really will have 2 spots in the bullpen available. I'm assuming Paul Gibson will get George Capizzello's spot, and the other spot will probably go to Carl Willis, who is highly rated right-hander, replacing Roger Weaver, and maybe he'll be our setup guy. We'll let it play out in spring training. Dave Gumpert, we've already seen. Morris Madden came up, got 1 start. He was actually one of our top prospects, but you know how I am with left-handers. I'm not a big fan of left-handed starters in this simulation. So maybe we see him get a start or 2 down the stretch here. But Danny Jackson, I moved Tom Filer down. We may not see Tom Filer again this year. He gave up runs in 6 of his last 7 appearances. Danny Jackson, I'm very curious. He will definitely get a start or 2. I'm curious to see how he performs as a left-handed starter. His numbers look great. Not a big strikeout pitcher. Doesn't have great control. He has good command of the strike zone, but he walks probably more than he should. And he's still really young, but I would project him to be maybe not get in the starting 5 next year, but maybe the year after that. I'm curious to see how he does. Jeff Montgomery, we called up earlier this season. He was not ready for prime time. In 3 relief appearances, he got rocked. and did not throw a lot of strikes. So he needs a little bit more seasoning in AAA. He just finally got called up. But, he could be an option, and we have already started his clock. So, and then Doug Drayback will get the last spot. I know it says bullpen, and these people, yes, technically are in our bullpen, but they will not play. I'm not going to start the clock on any of these great starters who are still too young to be effective in the majors, regardless of them having higher ratings. So they'll probably, a majority of these players will probably start next year in AAA. But Doug Drayback already has made 5 starts as an 18-year-old for Kansas City. We've had him for a couple years, trying to get his skills up. And you can see, being on our team instead of Kansas City, he has slowly improved up to an 80, which is helpful. So maybe a pitcher we can use. We'll definitely give him a couple opportunities out of the bullpen. And then we stuck, we brought Bert Blyleven up to the bullpen here. He's got 94 more days, so he'll be ready for next year. So those are our September call-ups for our offense and for our pitching staff. I don't know. I don't really want to. I mean, I'd love to see how like David Cohn would do in the majors, or Chuck Finley, but we'll give him another year of seasoning. Okay, so there we go with the September call-ups. It'll be fun to see how many of those we can work into ball games down the stretch here. Let's take a look at the standings. And, whoops, what am I doing here? There we go. There's the National League. Take a look at the American League first. We did win yesterday's game, or the game earlier today, but we did not gain a game here. In fact, everybody in the top 4 won, and so nothing changed. Could we make up 5 games on the Yankees down the stretch? I mean, possibly. The Yankees have the best record in baseball. We have the second best record in baseball. I don't know what this game is going to decide for our final month win-loss record. I just don't see how we're going to make up the ground. I don't think it's possible, but we're going to try, of course. Toronto and Cleveland already eliminated from the playoffs as we start September. But we're giving our best shot. We have a good rotation, and our offense has really picked up. We were up 6 points in batting average, so that's nice. We're still second in home runs in the American League. We steal our fair share of bags, although most of those, not even 1/3, were from Ricky Henderson before we traded him, and our ERA is under 4, so we're looking pretty solid. When I look at some of these numbers, I'm very curious to take a look because, as you know, I did change the stadium effects, and I want to know, are we close with home runs and batting average and stolen bases for the Tigers and other teams? And maybe Seattle hit more home runs in the sim than they did in real life in 1983. But maybe, Texas hit more home runs. So it evens itself out. So I'm curious, maybe they're not going to be accurate on a team-by-team basis, but what about the overall average for the American League? How do we compare? So we'll save that information for the final league leaders and standings when our season is over. And just see how close I got with making those adjustments. California has won 3 in a row and jumped over Oakland, who made a good run for it there for a minute. Seattle lost 3 out of 4 to us, fell back, but this is going to be a tight race right to the end. Let's take a look at the National League. New York just suffered another major injury. They lost their first baseman, Danny Goodwin, at the end of today's baseball game. So they have a 1-game lead over Montreal, which is kind of its own little exciting story. I mean, they have 65 home runs, not that many stolen bases. an ERA way less, or not way less, but half a run different from the Mets. So I don't know how they're doing it, but they're getting it done. 11 games over 500. And the West, this is going to be really exciting as Cincinnati and Atlanta are tied for first. Cincinnati won the World Series last year in our sim, and they were in last place before making a run to first here. So it's kind of amazing just how much they've improved by getting a couple of key players back from injury. Okay, let's move on to the league leaders. We're not going to spend a ton of time on this, but we will hit all the major categories for the American League. So there is your batting average leader, Jim Rice, batting .328. What a nice bounce back year for him. He batted .274 last year. He's already got more home runs than he hit last season, and almost as many hits, and there's still a month to go. So, kind of impressive season. Actually, there's 4 Boston Red Sox in the top 5, with the lone exception, Tony Brewer for Oakland. So he's batting .327. Tony Brewer has a chance at winning the Triple Crown. Then you got Wade Boggs, Marty Barrett, Roy Smalley, Juan Bonilla still hanging in there, Hoskins Powell, Neil Fiala, and then George Brett has earned his way back into the top 10, putting up some good numbers in the Tigers uniform. Wayne Krenchicki rounds out the top 10. Take a look down the rest of the top 25 there with Mickey Hatcher hanging on in 22nd place. Again, he's also just absolutely turned it on, batting .415 over his last 20 games. So he is crushing it. Good job by Sticky Mickey. Okay, let's take a look at, out of curiosity, who's leading it at bats? Shooty Babbitt. We're going to do all batters first here. We'll just kind of run down the categories quickly. Doubles is Hoskins Powell of Minnesota, hitting in the Hubert H. Humphrey Metrodome. He's got 42 doubles. Garth Orge at Exhibition Stadium. He's a right-handed batter, not a lefty, in Toronto. That's odd. He's got 38. Harold Reynolds, Juan Bonilla. You see a lot of players here with decent speed. Maybe not Ray Smith. He's the catcher for Baltimore. Jim Eisenreich. George Brett, 26 total combined. And he's not slouching. Like, as a Tiger, we don't hit very many doubles. I think Mickey Hatcher had 18 or something like that, right? So for Brett to have 12 in 43 games, that's very impressive. Okay. Who's grounding into double plays? George Brett's got 20. How many does he have as a Tiger? Only 3. That's because we hit and run so much. Stay out of those double plays. Pat Dodson with 30, leading the American League extra base hits. Mike Brown and Steve Kemp. Kemp makes sense. I think he has to be considered one of the 3 best hitters for MVP this year. In his first year with the Yankees. But Mike Brown, what a shock there. 32 doubles, 5 triples, 22 home runs with an 840 OPS. If he walked a little bit more, he would be elite level. George Brett in there in 15th spot. Okay, I would love to look at the fielding averages, but I'll save that for the end of the year. Hits. Shooty Babbitt, 1 up on Barrett and teammate Tony Brewer. There's a couple Cleveland batters. The Bull, Greg Luzinski, Carney Lansford, and then Mickey Hatcher and George Brett. It's going to be sad to let Mickey Hatcher go. The guy's rated a 78, and he has 150 hits for us. That's 332 hits in 2 seasons. That's pretty amazing. Okay. Hit by pitch. Yeah, not a lot here. Brian Harper for California. Home runs. Now, here we go with Ron Kittle, 32 home runs. Dave Henderson has 31. You look down the list here, you see Sweet Lou with 21, and Greg Brock just making the list with 18. I feel like the game regulates home runs in a way where no one can take off. Lloyd Mosby has hit 3 home runs in 2.5 months after hitting 21 or 22. He had that 3 home run game against Detroit. And, it doesn't really make sense because he's a left-handed hitter. He was on a tear. And yes, Lloyd Mosby would not be a guy who would hit 50 home runs in the majors, but he should have hit 50 home runs in this game. So that is a big disappointment to me, that this game wouldn't allow that to happen. Instead, we have Rod Allen as a rookie with the 3rd most home runs. That's just stupid. Rod Allen would never hit 29 home runs in a season. But anyway, let's take a look here. Home run percentage. It's Ron Kittle over Dave Henderson. So that holds true. I don't think we're going to have anybody hit 40 home runs. I mean, that's just not going to happen. It happens so seldom. Intentional walks. Jim Traber has 5 intentional walks. Okay, on base percentage. No Tigers on this list, that's for sure. And maybe that's because Greg Brock doesn't qualify because he walks a lot. And he's got a good batting average too, so he gets on base. But it's Wade Boggs, sizable lead over Tony Brewer. Let's see the OPS. It's Tony Brewer with a 921. It's going to come down to Brewer, Steve Kemp, and Dave Henderson, I think, for MVP. And with Steve Kemp being on a first-place team, that might make all the difference. Hey, Kirk Gibson, 21st spot. Good job by Gibby. We just gave him that contract extension. Plate appearances, Shooty Babbitt. Wow, he's 30 over Otis Nixon. Okay, we don't care about range. RBI. Steve Kemp at 112 RBI with a whole month to go. Tony Brewer right there. There's the bull. Bob Pate, Ricardo Saenz, Rod Allen, Dave Stapleton. Look at all the Seattle batters. Those must be everyday players. That's how they're getting in there. George Brett with 82. A majority of those are with Kansas City, of course. And then there's Glenn Wilson and Mickey Hatcher. That's kind of amazing to see them on there. All right, let's take a look here at runs scored. Shooty Babbitt at 100, Sweet Lou at 88. Lou is tired every other game now. So I'm going to try to baby him for maybe the first week of September, and then we're just going to play it out. And if he gets injured, he gets injured. We got to try to make a run for it, for first place, that is. So. Okay, sacrifice hits. It's Doug Baker, who's done for the year. Sweet Lou's got 4. We did not sacrifice bunt that much this year. Last year it was Guy Solars who had the most sacrifice bunts. Sacrifice flies. John Harris and Steve Kemp. George Brett on the list. Slugging percentage, I guess. Steve Kemp. Steals, here we go. Stolen bases, Gibby on the list. We got rid of Ricky Henderson to Houston. He is doing terrible. Let's take a look at him real quick. No extra base hits in the Astrodome at all in 100 at-bats. 12 for 14 in stolen bases. And he's horrible there. He does go to free agency at the end of the year. So he hopefully won't have to put up with Houston the rest of his career. But Otis Nixon with 72, leading the American League, has a big lead over Gary Pettis. Strikeouts. Who's striking out the most? Carl Pagel, one up on Ricardo Saenz, Otto Valiz, Ron Kittle. Those are all names you would expect to be there. Cecil Fielder, these are all power hitters in this game, so that makes sense. Take a look here at trips. Kevin Romberg of Cleveland has 8, and Kirk Gibson, second with 7. Doug Baker, not going to happen again. Greg Brock has 4. That's good. Walks. Clint Hurdle with 91 for Boston. A lot of familiar names. Is Ricky Henderson still on this list? Since the trade? Nope, I guess he's been knocked off. All right. And I guess that's it for batters. Let's take a look at the catching stats real quick here. Runners thrown out. Lance Parrish, despite not playing every day, still has more than Terry Kennedy. Brian Harper thrown out the most. What is his arm? An 82. So people just trying to run on. What's their percentage? Just shy of 40% for Brian Harper. And Lance Parrish and Kennedy, 8 and 9 on the list. So both about the same. Okay, let's take a look at pitching stats, and then we'll look at the National League real quick, and then we'll wrap it up. Okay, let's take a look here. We're just going to go in order. Complete games. Tom Klowitter, he threw a complete game shutout. I think 2 of them against us. He's got 8 complete games. So that's kind of amazing. A couple of Dennis's. Dennis Martinez is done for the year. No Tigers, as you might imagine. I am Captain Hook. Let's take a look at ERA. Teddy Haguera, number 1 overall. He's got 4 shutouts. He's won 20 games. That's a spoiler. Spoiler alert. He's a 20-game winner on a horrible team. Alan Ramirez, Ron Guidry, Al Lakowitz, Tom Klowitter. There's Dave Rozema. We'll keep starting Dave Rozema. He's been really terrible down the stretch, much as he was last year. He just doesn't have the legs to complete a full season, although he never gets injured. So, we may, if we fall out of it, maybe Rosie goes into the bullpen and we give his spot to Danny Jackson or something. Jack Morris with a 4.01 ERA. Okay. Where are we at here? ERA. Games pitched. This is going to be all Tigers. Dave Rucker's got 60. And keep in mind, how many times did we send these players to the minors to keep them from being overworked? And still, Dave Rucker's got 60 games. And all of these pitchers won't pitch as much with our expanded bullpen. So that'll be nice. Dennis Eckersley has the most games pitched, non-Tiger pitcher. Grounding into double play induced. Larry McCall, I'm assuming he's given up the most home runs as well. So he gives up a lot of ground balls and fly balls. Hits per 9. Alan Ramirez, under 7 with Teddy Haguera. Who hits the most batters? Allard, Bannister, Paxton, Rainey. Okay. Here we go. Home runs allowed. 43 for Larry McCall. No Tigers on that list, but, we've already traded off a lot of our 4th and 5th starters. Whoops, I wanted to look at Larry McCall. Yeah, 36-28 in the strike shortened season. Then 58 and 43. That is a lot. Okay. Homers allowed. Innings pitched. Teddy Haguera, 225 and 2/3. Mark Langston right up there. He missed a week's worth of games. 1 start, maybe 2, I guess, which is why he's fallen off. No Tigers on this list. I think Jack Morris is at 190, so he's right outside. He had those 2 starts where he gave up 11 runs, so we yanked him early. What else we got here? I don't really care about those. Oh, outfield assists. Dave Henderson. Yep, he's a Gold Glover. Great arm. Okay. Quality starts. We do have Jack Morris on there with 19. Teddy Haguera has the most. Saves. Dennis Eckersley with 32. Tom Hankey, Mark Clear. Carlos Diaz, not even a closer. Kurt Kaufman done for the almost the full season. Roger Weaver in his final year as a Tiger closer. And you can see the rest there. Okay. Save success, Joe Baver with Oakland. Shutouts, 5 by Alan Ramirez. Teddy and Dennis Martinez have 4. Jack Morris has 3. I think that's most by any Tiger in a season during our Sims so far. Starts, I guess, does that matter? Well, okay, so it's nice to see that there aren't any teams that are on a 4-man rotation, right? If Morris is at 28 with his 29th coming, no team is on a 4-man rotation. They're probably just maybe skipping the number 5 guy if there's a day off that week or something. But okay, strikeout pitched. Here we go. Mark Langston, 211. Teddy Haguera will get to 200, and that might be it. Jack Morris has 131 in the 12th spot. No other Tigers on that list. We never have anybody get more than 100. But hopefully we can change that with Jeff Robinson. He looks like a strikeout pitcher. Strikeouts per 9. Mark Langston almost won an inning, which is a lot for this era. If you're not named Nolan Ryan, that's kind of a big deal. Okay. Did we look at walks? Oh, yeah, we did. Okay. Walks per 9 innings. Yeah, Dave Rozema on this list, he's up like a full walk, though, over his career totals. Jack Morris, better than you might think. And wins. We do have a 20-game winner with Teddy Haguera. Roger Schlegel, 19. Langston, 18. A couple 17-game winners. And Jack Morris with 16. I don't think he's going to get to 20, but he's got an outside chance. He'll get 4 more starts. Yeah, because we have 27 games left. So he might get a 5th. We'll see. All right. So that is going to do it for the American League leaders. Let's just go real quick over a couple categories for the National League. We're going to hit just the major ones here, and then we'll call it a day. Jim Gantner batting .341 in the National League for St. Louis. Tony Gwynn, as you might expect. Kirby Puckett for Philadelphia. Wow, Philadelphia's got 3 in a row, just like Boston does. A couple there for Montreal. Danny Goodwin just got injured for the season. And some other random names there. Let's take a look at hits. Tony Gwynn and Johnny Ray leading the National League. Home runs. Oh, yeah. So the National League, they are just not hitting home runs. I mean, they don't even really have any what you might call a traditional home run hitter other than maybe Dave Winfield in the top 25. So I don't really know how to explain that. Mike Schmidt is on Houston, and Houston, there's just no home runs in that ballpark. So, I mean, will they even get one player to 30? Doesn't look like it. Okay, let's take a look at RBI. Tracy Woodson, Matusik, Russ Morman. These are not household names here. which is, one of the things I think that makes this game fun. What if they got to play every day in real life? Would they have put up these numbers? We'll never know. Here's runs scored. Jose Moreno, leadoff guy for the Mets. LaRue, Washington. He was an all-star this year. Scott Fletcher, Wally Backman. I don't know. They just don't generate a lot of runs with the pitchers batting, and some of those ballparks are just horrible. Okay, steals. This will be interesting. Yeah, Kim Allen with 68. He is the man. When he came back from his injury, that's when Cincinnati took off. Plus Mario Soto was injured. They brought him back, and he's stole 97 bags last year, 68 this year, and he is almost single-handedly keeping Cincinnati in there. Take a look at the rest of the National League. Not as many stolen bases for some reason. I don't know. Maybe they're all in the American League now. Okay, let's take a look at pitching stuff. Let's look at ERA for the National League. J.R. Richard, Bruce Berenier. Was it Berenier that pitched the no-hitter? I think it was. No-hitter, yep. Just less than 2 weeks ago. So he's on that list. Take a look at wins. Rick Ownby of the Mets has 2 years in a row. He's been the 20-game winner. Nice job by him. Wow. And then it really drops off after 17. Strikeouts pitched. J.R. Richard over 200. And he's run away with it. Not a lot of other ones. J.R. Richard had his stroke in 1983. Never pitched. Or was it in 82 and then he retired, I guess. So he's still moving on here. And then finally saves. Bill Landrum of Cincinnati has 29. So there you go. And Lee Smith, 22, Hall of Famer. Okay, so I think we've seen all we need to see, right? So, yeah, I guess that's going to do it. Just as a final mention here, we have the month of September to get through. I am planning on having one more season of the 1984 Detroit Tigers season replay. We'll play that next year. That'll be the final season. See if we can't get the Tigers to the World Series in the year in which they did win the World Series. I'm not saying I'll never play that beyond 84, but I won't be doing any videos of it. I have other plans for a new baseball series, and I'll let you know when we get to that point, I suppose. But also, don't forget, we have the 1980 Detroit Lions alternate history. That's going to be starting on September 11th. That's the first game in real life for the NFL. So we're going to try to mirror that, have a different game every Sunday. And there is going to be a contest, which I'll tell you more about in a separate video coming up later in the week. I think you'll really like the prize. It's going to be a lot of fun. Okay, so we're going to come back tomorrow, finish off the series versus the White Sox, and then move on down to Anaheim to face the Angels. So until then, everyone, have a great night.